What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. You got one of these? Factory Glock 19 5th gen, and you want it to run better and just perform better, and in my opinion look better, then you definitely clicked on the right video. I've been running Glocks for over a decade now. This is my personal carry gun. I'm going to be getting a Glock 43X MOS soon, so that I can swap from a full size, from a compact to a subcompact. But we're not here to talk about that today. We're talking about the Glock 19 Gen 5 and what you can do to make this run better and look better, in my opinion. This is going to be a longer video. There are going to be timestamps in the description down below, so that you can click on like each individual section that you want to see in the video if you're looking for something specific. If you don't want to sift through all of those or look through the timestamps, there's also a playlist for all of these that have just shorter versions of the video in the playlist. So check that out as well. If you're new here, consider subscribing, because I'm going to be posting content like this and content from the range on a pretty frequent basis. I've just got to get some stuff together. And if you want to see me do the same thing that I'm doing to this on the 43X MOS, that video I'll probably link that video in the description as well, but it'll also be on the channel once it's up. Anyway, let's get started swapping everything out. This is a disclaimer for YouTube. I am not modifying this handgun in any way to fire full auto or to simulate full auto fire. It will still fire semi-automatic. This is all of the upgrades that I'm doing to the firing pin, and it's all springs. That's all it is, and the only thing those springs do is make it more crisp and make it fire better in semi-automatic. It is a semi-automatic handgun. Nothing about any changes that I'm making are going to make it full auto. So please don't take my video down. Have someone who knows something about firearms watch this video, for the love of God. Alright, I've got this set up with a little top-down view of my Glock here, and there's a lot of stuff we're going to be swapping out. And I know a lot of you are going to notice this right off the bat. I do have one of my new pins right here. I cannot find the factory OEM pin that slots in right here, and I had to kind of swap everything back out to make this video. So we're going with this pin here, but it's the same concept. So yeah. What are we going to be swapping out? Well, for starters, I'm not a fan of the trigger connector for a Glock. So I have the Ghost Angel 3 trigger connector here, and this also has the trigger reset spring here as well, to upgrade it. Now, this is for Gens 1 through 5 and X, and it is not for the 42 or 43. There are other products for that. You can find all this on Ghost's website. I think it's ghostinc.com or something like that. It'll be linked in the description down below. I'm also going to be swapping out the this is a complete spring set complete spring kit from Ghost. It's for Glocks Gen 1 through 5. The trigger spring that's in here is not used in the 5th gen. I'll show you that whenever we break it apart and get in there. So these are both on Ghost Inc's website. I will link that in the description down below. What else are we swapping out? Well, this is a kit from Cross Armory. I kind of ordered this separate. There is a kit that comes in like a better packaging and everything. I've got that here for the Glock 43X that I'm getting. It does come in a full kit like this. I ordered these parts separately because I'm an idiot. So we're going to be swapping that out. This kit comes with the pins that you need. It also comes with the pin for the Gen 3, which we are not using because we don't have a Gen 3. So I'm going to put that back in there. We're swapping out the slide release for an extended slide release, making it easier to get a hold of. We're swapping out the magazine catch button for a competition style extended magazine catch. This is also metal, so if you use a metal magazine in your Glock, you'll have that. We're swapping out the slide release for the stock one for this one from Cross Armory, it's angled on the edges, so it's just easier to get a hold of whenever you're taking your Glock apart. And like I said before, the pins both here and here are getting swapped out. I went blue with this one because blue is my favorite color and I can do what I want. I'll have a link for Ghost Ink down in the description box down below for their website. You can look at everything you need on there. There's a lot of different options, so take your time so you don't get the wrong thing. And make sure to read the instructions on your firing pin or your trigger connector, because there's a few of them that you actually have to file part of it down with a metal file to get it to work right. A buddy of mine had an issue last night. I had to go help him take his Glock apart. I will show you all what to do if you do get stuck there in another video. This one's already going to be long enough, but check the description box down below and that will be down there as well. There's also a link in the description box down below for Cross Armory's website. There's a lot of different options on there for a lot of different Glocks. You can search by generation, by specific Glock. There's a lot on there, and there's a lot of different color combinations. So go check them out. I'm not sponsored by any of these companies that I'm using in my Glock. I just love their products. Ghost Ink and Cross Armory, if y'all want to reach out, we can definitely talk about sponsorship. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. But let's get back to swapping everything out. So what else are we going to be swapping out? We are swapping out the factory barrel for this threaded and sort of fluted CMC barrel. This is for if you want to run a suppressor or silencer, and also to make it look good. Again, not sponsored by CMC. I just love their barrels, and yeah. We're also going to be swapping out the back plate here. This is where the Gucci part comes in. This is from a company called Millspin. It is a brass back plate, and if the camera will focus, come on. There we go. You can see it is the Grim Reaper. They have a lot of different ones on their website as well, so give them, I'll have that linked in the description box down below. It comes in this really nice case. So check them out, see if you want to get a back plate for yourself. Now, first things first, we're going to need some tools for this, right? Well, I guess that's not first. First thing is to make sure that your Glock is clear and safe. We're going to do that by pulling the slide back, and you can see by the orange tab in there on the magazine that there is not a round in there. And I like to go ahead and do a little finger check in there and a visual check to make sure that there's not a round in there. There's not, you can see, and we're good to go. The reason you want to do that is because in order to take apart a Glock, you have to depress the trigger. YouTube's firearm policy is a little finicky right now. I'm not really sure what all I'm allowed to show you as far as taking this apart goes. So I'm going to go for it anyway, and if my video gets taken down for any reason, that's probably it, and I will edit that part of the video out. But take your Glock, make sure it's in a safe direction, make sure that there is not a round in it, which I have already done several times. Depress the trigger. You'll see right here is the slide release tab. You're going to roll your hand around so that you're grabbing it like so that you can barely pull it back. Not enough for the trigger to reset, but just enough so that you can get a hold of the slide release and take that right off. Now again, if YouTube doesn't want me showing that, I'll have to edit that part of the video out, but I will leave in the audio. So there's that. Now again, I'll show you that from this angle. So you grab a hold of your Glock and you pull it back just enough to get a hold of the slide release and then let go. Slide release just pulls straight down. So you're gonna take your fingers, grab a hold of that and pull straight down. Once we get the new one in, it is a lot easier to get a hold of because it's not straight up and down, it's angled. So it's just easier to get a hold of with your fingers. We're gonna start up here in the slide and swapping everything out in here because it's a little bit harder than swapping everything out down here. Again, description box down below, there are timestamps. If you don't need to see any of this, skip ahead and just click on the timestamp of what you want to see. So first things first, you're going to take off your guide rod. That's it. With the recoil spring, set that aside, take your barrel out. When we put this back together, we're going to be putting this barrel in, so I'll show you that as well. Now, you're going to need a couple things for this whole ordeal. Number one, a good punch set. This punch set is from Real Avid. As you can see, I like their stuff. It's really good, really high quality punch set, and it turns around and just kind of sits on its own. You're also going to want some kind of small screwdriver set. This one is from Cobalt. I'm a little partial to their company because their products are manufactured in the city I was born in. So yeah. I've also got a, where'd it go? Out of my computer repair kit, I've got another small screwdriver that has this bit on it that has kind of like a little fork. That's going to be for us to get a hold of the bar that's in here for the magazine catch button. We'll deal with that later. Trust me, it's a pain in the ass. Anyway, first things first, grab a small punch. I'm using the 5/64 punch. Any good punch will work for this. You just want one that's a good quality. Yeah. So this is your firing pin right here, and just underneath that is a little hole with a tab in it. What you're going to want to do here is take your punch and get it into there. I like to hold the punch in my left hand here. I'm right hand dominant. You do this however you want to, but you get that down in there and kind of push down so that you can release the tension on the spring, and then you just take your thumb and slide the factory back plate off. I actually use my fingernail for that. Be careful because there is a spring. Everything in this is spring loaded. So there is a spring right here that is a bit of a pain. So be careful with it. It might go pew and go flying. So, and we're going to slide our firing pin out. This is the thing that makes the pew pew go bang. Once we have our firing pin out, we're going to be swapping out the spring on this, but first we're going to take this spring out. This is the ejector spring, what is this thing called? Editor, put up somewhere on the video what this is called, and yeah, we're not swapping anything out on this, but we have to remove it because we're going to be removing the ejector right here. Zoom back in for you. This is the ejector. It grabs a hold of the spent shell and ejects it, as the name implies. On the bottom here is the retention spring, the locking mechanism for it. This will go flying off because it is spring loaded, so I'm going to put my thumb over top of it while and I'm actually, you actually have to push this in to remove the ejector, and once you can just turn it upside down and push that in, and you can see the ejector just fell right out. Now, just lift that up, pull it out, and there is a spring down in there that looks like this. This is going to be our first upgrade right here. There we go. We're going to pop open our complete spring kit. These are the springs for the firing pin. We'll get to those. I'm going to set those over here. This little bag has 2 springs in it. As you can see here, this says that the trigger spring is not used in Gen 5, if you can see that right there. I don't know if you can, but this is the trigger spring. So, this is not used in Gen 5, it's used in Gens 1 through 3, or I know it's in a Gen 3, I don't know if it's in a 1 or a 2, but this is not used in a Gen 5. It might even be used in a Gen 4, I have no idea. I don't own one. So I'm going to take it, since I'm not using it, and I'm going to put it back in the bag. And I'm going to take the factory retention spring, put it also in the bag, and seal that up. I like to keep all my factory parts together, so. Now, this is the aftermarket spring. Be careful because these springs will go flying and it is a pain in the ass to find them. Trust me, I've had to look for several springs several times. You're going to take your ejector detent, I guess is what it's called. I think it's an ejector detent, and pop that spring down in there. It'll kind of sit itself, oh, you can't see. It'll kind of sit itself in place. We need to focus, thank you. And then you're going to take this and put it back in that little slot, making sure that the spring goes all the way down, and the exact opposite of what we did before. You gotta make sure this is in the right orientation. If you look at it, it's kind of got like a flatter side and a more like angled side, and the angled side goes on the inside. So you're going to push this in, take your ejector, turn it to the right orientation, slide that in there, and let go of the detent, and you're good to go. This will slide right back in, and now we're going to work on the firing pin. So this is a bit of a pain. There's a couple different ways I like to work on this. First things first, you have to get this spring off because this is what we're going to be working with today. So I like to set it down right here, pull that spring down, and there are two little plastic pieces, as you can see here, that are holding the spring on the firing pin. And once you remove those, the firing pin spring comes right off. This kit comes with two springs. One of them is a 4-pound spring for sport shooting, and the other one is a 6-pound spring for self-defense shooting. So it's a shorter spring length. This one has a longer spring length, and so yeah, I like going with the 6-pound just because it's a little bit more crisp. It gives me a little bit more time if I need to defend myself to think, okay, do I really want to do this? So there's a couple different reasons for it, and I could go more in depth about it, but this is a video on how to swap it out, not the semantics about why you should or shouldn't. Now this is the fun part because you have to keep the firing pin pushed out while pushing the spring into this. So what I like to do is take my slide, set the firing pin on the side of it right there, and push down. And then I'm going to take one of these little retention pieces. I don't know what it's actually called, but I'm going to call it that. Damn. Push that down, slide that into the spring on one side, and then on the other side, I'm going to turn this one to the side a little bit. Oh. And that's why you have to be careful, because it slid off and now I have no idea where that piece went. Luckily it didn't go very far away, but it is a pain in the ass because everything is under tension, so be careful whenever you're dealing with all of this. So what I'm going to do instead is just push this down against my table and use my ring finger here to prop the firing pin up. Slide this down, pop that in place. I'm going to slide it around to the other side and slot the other one into place, and then you can let go. It is a pain in the ass. I had to edit out about 10 minutes of me fucking with it, so also keep a paper towel handy because your hands are going to get sweaty during all this, and it's good to keep them dry just so that stuff doesn't slip off and go flying all over the place. So now that we have the firing pin spring swapped out, take your firing pin, slide it back in, and we're going to replace the factory back plate with our back plate from Millspin. And I'm going to just take this one, put it back in there so that I know exactly where the factory one is should I ever need it. Like I said, this is a brass back plate. There we go. It It comes in several different designs. I chose the Grim Reaper because I can. Take your punch and use the back side of it to push in on the plastic part right here for your firing pin. Pushed in on the side, slide this up just a little so that it stays in. Swap your punch over, push in on that detent spring for the ejector, and just slide it right up and you're good to go. Slide is finished. Now I do have aftermarket sights on this. The gun store that I bought them from installed them for me because I don't really know how, and I bought them from them. They did it for free, so there we go. Next, we're moving on to the slide.
Hey, Tim from the future here. We're not dealing with the slide anymore. That's already finished. This is the frame that we're moving into. Sorry about that.
This is where the meat and potatoes of this whole build comes from. To get the pins out, the first one is pretty easy. Just take a punch and push this pin out. It's just held in there with just friction. This one is a bit of a pain. I'm going to take a larger punch, and there probably is an easier way. If y'all know an easier way to remove this pin, let me know. I've spent countless hours trying to like mess with it and like move the mechanism around to get it to like slide out, and I don't do that anymore. I use a hammer. And there's going to be people in the comments, oh, Tim has to use a hammer to work on his Glock. He has to use a punch hammer. Yeah, I'll work on my Glock how I want to. You work on yours how you want to. Anyway, once you get those two pins removed, again, the other one is going to be a normal pin like this, just in this length. I'm going to set those to the side. Once those pins are out, we're going to take a screwdriver, get underneath this right here, and kind of use the body of the Glock as leverage to slide it up and out, and it's going to pull right out. Then your slide release is going to slide right out. That's what our ESR, or extended slide release from Ghost Inc., is going to come in handy. And once that is out, the whole trigger assembly will also come out. Now this is where your trigger connector and trigger reset spring are going to be, is back here. So we're just going to take this and kind of move it over to the side and slide it right out. This is your trigger connector. It's what gives you the trigger pull and your crisp wall that you want. And the spring is down in here for the trigger reset. So first thing we're going to do, take a punch. There's a little round hole right here that you can see, and you can see the back part of the trigger bar, the trigger connector. And you just take your punch and push through. There's a lot of tension, or there's a lot of friction in there, surface friction, so that's what it's being held in by. Once you have that out, you're going to take a small screwdriver, and you want this out. As you can see right here, there is a little bar. You probably can't see it very good. There we go. There's a little bar that needs to come out over and there. So I like to take my screwdriver, and it's a little flathead screwdriver. Just take it to the back side of that and push it out using that plastic piece, and then just slide. Once it's free of it, you just slide it up like so, and it slides right out, and then slides out there. Now it's pretty easy to swap to change this. You just push in, twist it, and it comes out. Take off this spring, and that's where we're going to open up our Angel 3.0. And these do have instructions with them. It's a user warning, user and installer warnings, some notes and stuff, but definitely read these because some of them do have specific instructions on how to operate these or how to install these. So this is our trigger connector and reset spring. We're working with the reset spring right now, so we're just going to pop this over top of that plastic piece. Then our little metal piece is going to go back on there and twist into place like so. And then from there, you just take it and push it back into the place that it came out of and pop it back down. New trigger bar just slots right in place. You're done with that. And then trigger connector rather. This is the trigger bar. This is the trigger connector. This is the trigger. You can swap these out if you want. Eventually, I will be swapping these out for better ones, and I will show you a video of that later on. I just don't have the parts right now and don't really feel like buying them right now because I don't need to. But you're gonna see a little detent right there that this connects to or goes into. You're gonna put that underneath it and kind of push this in, and goes in just like that. All right, now that we have the trigger connector and the reset spring installed, we're going to set this aside because we're still going to be working in our frame. We're going to be swapping out the magazine catch button for a metal one that's going to work better and is an extended magazine catch, so it's easier to release. And we're going to be swapping out the slide lock right here. We're going to start with the slide lock because it is the easier of the two. This is a pain in the butt. You will see why in a minute. So there's a spring on 5th gen Glocks right here. 3rd gens have a retention bar that is right here that is easier to work with. This spring is a pain in the ass. What I like to do is take my thumb and push in on the slide lock all the way down. Leave your thumb here. Definitely leave your thumb here because that spring will fly off, and if you don't have backups, you will be searching for it. This is the spring that I looked for 30 minutes twice. So with that pressed in, I like to take a punch or a screwdriver and push that slide lock through just enough that you can grab it from the other side. And as you can see, this spring is very small, very easy to lose as it falls off my hand. The slide lock from Cross Armory has their logo on it. That logo, when you're installing it, goes towards you. So you'll see a little divot right here on the slide lock that goes away from you facing the front of the firearm. Put your spring back in because it's going to fall out 47 times before you get this all the way in there. So with that spring in place, I'm going to zoom in a little bit so that you all can see better. Try to keep this in frame. You see that spring right there? You're going to take your slide lock with the logo facing you, take your thumb, press that spring down, take the slide lock and slide it in over top of the spring and use it to push the spring down so that you can slide that right in place. I really hope you all were able to see that because it's a bit of a pain to deal with. Like I said, that spring is the one that flew off and I had to search for it twice. Now, the fun part. Again, I'm gonna try to get you guys down in here. As you can see, well, maybe, there is a locking bar right here. On your mag catch, your magazine catch, there's a little groove. That groove is the same on here. So I'm zooming out only because I want this to be in frame and it's a pain in the ass. So take your screwdriver while holding your magazine catch in place. You're going to work with that retention bar to push it that way and out. I use a flathead screwdriver for this. It likes to pop out really easily. You can see it right here. And then you just slide your magazine catch out. And as you can see, this one is a little bit gnawed up because it was a pain in the butt to put this in the first time. It's going to be a pain in the butt to put it in now. So that's why I have this with the 2 prongs on it, if my camera will focus. Anyway, reach in there while keeping this in place with your other hand, with the hand that's holding your slide. Take this and pull the, there's multiple different tools that you can use for this. Whatever works for you works for you. This is a colossal pain in the butt, so I'm sorry if you can't see, but what I'm trying to do is move that retention bar around the outside of this and in place so that I can push it back into that groove. I know you're not going to be able to see very well, but if I put it in a way that you could see it perfectly, I wouldn't be able to see what I'm doing. So let's see if we can get a better look of it here. There we go. So you can see down in there, that bar is right here, and we need to get it around this. So it's a bit of a pain. So and you might actually be able to go through the outside here from the side and push it back. That works a lot better. So do that. Go in from the outside, push that bar back, and get it into place. And you can see right here, it's still outside. That's why I have this little 2-prong piece, because it will grab a hold of it really easily. And I just push it over. Use what tools you have to get that back in there. That is the toughest part of this entire build. So, that being said, we're done. Now all we have to do is put it all back together. That's the fun part. And it's super easy. So, we have everything that we need in the places that they need to be in. Why don't you want to go in there? There it goes. Don't need any of our other parts anymore. We're going to take the trigger assembly, slide it back in place. Take your bar or your pin back here. I forgot to mention before, these pins are actually detent. They have a little divot in them, so they're actually easier to get a hold of with a punch instead of just the flat, smooth ones that are from the factory. Get your pin, slide it back in there, super easy. This pin we don't put this pin in yet because we have to put in our ESR from Ghost Ink or extended slide release. It just falls right into place. We take our support bar here and put it back in and slides down. And you just take this pin, and it's actually pretty easy to get this pin back in. A lot easier than it was to take it out anyway. You just have to make sure everything is aligned and it will slide right into place, and just use your punch to push it in a little bit more and you're good to go. Now with our slide, I've already taken the protection cover off because of YouTube's guidelines. It says that I can't show the installation of a suppressor. I assume it is the same for the threaded part of a threaded barrel. So we're going to use some movie magic, and there we go. That is now on there. Take your recoil spring and guide rod, pop that back into place, and then you just take your slide for your Glock, throw it back on there, and you're good to go. Once you have everything back together, give it a couple of slides, couple of little dry fires. You can feel your new springs working. You can really feel that wall. There's a lot less travel, and you can feel the wall right there right before you squeeze and that reset. And you want to take an empty magazine, again, empty, and slide it in. Make sure that your slide release locks in place. Check it a couple of times. And then what I like to do to make sure that the ejector is working properly is I take another magazine that has snap caps in it. These are fake dummy rounds that do not have a projectile to them. They are plastic, as you can see here. They do have brass on this side just to protect your firing pin. I load up about 5 of them, and to make sure that it's working properly, make sure it's seated, and it is, and then you can just check the ejection of them by pulling the slide back. Again, I recommend using dummy rounds for that, snap caps, plastic rounds, no projectile, no gunpowder, anything. Be as safe during this whole process as you can be. Every time I work on a handgun or a rifle or anything that I have, I keep my ammo at least 6 feet away from me on a completely different table. It is nowhere near me. There is no way, because at some point ammo will find its way into this gun if it is near it. Whether you're testing it or messing with it, whatever. Sorry, that was probably loud in your all's ear. Whether you're messing with it, testing it, whatever, it will find its way into this handgun or rifle or shotgun or whatever you're doing. Put it in a separate room, put it 6 feet away on another table, somewhere way away from you, so that you don't risk a desk pop.
Don't think, just go. Here we go. Do it, yes.
Because I don't want to shoot one of my cats or to be messing with my handgun and my girlfriend walk in and I accidentally shoot her in the chest or whatever. So be careful. Make sure that you all are always safe when dealing with firearms. And so I don't mean to aim this directly at you, camera. That goes back to our first video of the rules of firearm safety. Anyway, thank y'all so much for watching. If this helped you, let me know in the comment section down below. If you've done other modifications to your Glock, let me know down below. If you're new here, make sure you subscribe, like the video so that YouTube's algorithm can see it and see that it is good to show other people and get it pushed out there. We're a very small channel. We just started uploading. So if y'all don't mind to help me get all this content out, I really appreciate it. Thank y'all so much and stay tuned for more. Have a great day.